This is Alexa Ford. I sat down with City Council person-elect Dawn Addis for the city of Morro Bay, and she told me her story of why she decided to run for office.
The short answer of why I decided to run for office was because I wanted to make the world a better place. And I really came to the idea that you can do that one small town and one motivated person at a time. And I would say this all started when I was in middle school, around 12 years old. And I realized that some kids were treated differently from others in school. And so I decided to become a special education teacher because I knew that by being a teacher, that was a direct way to affect students' lives. And at the time, it was in the mid 80s, I was told to learn Spanish because demographics were changing, and people said, if you want to be able to speak to your students of the future, you should speak more than one language. It wasn't easy to do that, and it took me many years, but I did both. I earned my teaching credential and I became bilingual. So, flash forward a number of years to my 13th year of teaching. And I'm sitting on the couch in my student's house, and he is on hospice. And I went to visit him to share a video that our class made because his schoolmates miss him. His family had moved here from Mexico when he was an infant because he has a heart condition. And so over the past 13 years, he had had more surgeries than anybody that I had ever met. And his mom had just quit work, and now she is tending to his needs through his last days. So I was sitting on the couch with his mom on one side and the hospice nurse on the other, and they didn't speak the same language. For 2 hours, I sat there with them and I translated as his mom talked about her sadness and fears, and the hospice nurse listened, and her job was to soothe and to share medical information. And I realized that I was the bridge to their understanding, and I was the bridge between their worlds. So, in that moment, my life, my entire life of wanting to change the world coalesced. I knew that I might not be fixing everything for every student, but sitting on this couch, I could tell that I was making a difference. So, flash forward to 2016, and it was election night, and I am bereft. I can't get the thought out of my head that I love our democracy and we could be losing it right before our eyes. But I knew in the back of my mind that one person can make a difference. So I tried to figure out how I could do this in this time of need, in this present time. And so I searched for things that fit who I am. And that meant things that would grow community bonds. I find the Women's March on Washington and decide that rather than going to DC, I wanted to do something in SLO. And so the SLO team comes together. And for 10 weeks, we work harder than ever. And we brought out 10,000 people to join together in hope and calling for a more positive and just future. And I asked the crowd in my opening remarks to put one person in your hearts and minds that you are committed to. Because I know that we'll keep doing the work and we'll keep stepping forward when we know who we are fighting for, not just what. So over the next couple of years, Women's March SLO worked for two things. We did the big work of trying to create a more positive and just world. That was the activist work. And we did local work of trying to get more women into office, trying to change the system kind of work. And then this past June, 2018, elections came. They were primary elections, but I got a progressive slate in the mail, and it had 11 candidates. So there were county supervisors, judges, sheriffs, district attorneys. And on that progressive slate, there were exactly 0 women. 0. So I looked it up later, and in that election in San Luis Obispo County, there were only 3 women out of 27 candidates. So that's only 11%. And in Congress, at the time, we only had 19.4%. So in San Luis Obispo County, we had about half of the number of women even that are in Congress, half the number running in that election. So I was super frustrated and I wanted to point fingers, and I was texting a bunch of friends with the photo of that mailer, and we were all super upset. But I realized that I couldn't stay mad because I knew, and I do know, that one person can make a difference. So I talked to trusted friends, and one said, everything that happens at the national level is also happening right here at home in Morro Bay. And that clicked for me. So I decided to take a chance on creating our local future instead of watching it roll by. And I became a candidate for city council in Morro Bay because I know that one person can make a difference. And I held my kickoff on August 26th, which was the 98th anniversary of white American women getting the right to vote. So that means that was the 98th anniversary of our 19th Amendment to the Constitution. And then on November 6, 2018, I won the election, and I'm now a city council person for Morro Bay.